welcome back to the Demo Team podcast. We're here with a very special guest today. We're here with Joe Coronado, aka Chancla Academy. He's going to talk to
That's
us
right.
about his upcoming rock festival, Chancla Academy Rock Fest.
Oh
How are you
yeah.
doing, Joe?
I'm doing good, man. How about you guys?
Doing pretty well. How about you, George and Blaine, who are also joining us?
Pretty well.
Doing well.
We're doing well.
We're all doing well.
Pretty
Awesome.
well.
Well, Joe, I really appreciate you taking your time, taking some time out to help to
Yeah,
come talk to
sure.
us today because I'm sure you're very busy this week.
This week has been total like mayhem.
Total mayhem.
Yeah.
What have you been getting up to? If you don't mind me asking, if you can tell.
Yeah, no. So I'm actually already working on another project right now. While I'm doing the festival at the same time. So it's been like really exhausting. We want to bring a lot of really unique events to San Antonio that we typically don't have. And a lot of events that I do see, not saying that there isn't events in San Antonio, but a lot of these events are more catered to like an aesthetic, a certain group of people. And I kind of want to bring back the days where everybody used to gather and just have fun and enjoy the time with their family and stuff. I'm not like a big fiesta guy. So I wanted to create something that, someone like myself who has two boys who love rock and roll, I wanted to create something where families can come together, enjoy that music with their kids, discover music again, and just enjoy themselves. When I went to my first Warped Tour, I went with my dad. So, I mean, that's how I really got into rock and roll for the most part. So I want to kind of do the same thing for other parents that are still grown up and still in the scene.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think it was kind of always hard, like growing up, like being able to go to shows because there's always your parents always seem like always a little suspicious, I think, for unless you were going to see like Kiss or something, they were
Oh yeah, you can go see that grandpa band.
yeah, we gotta go see AC/DC or something, or like I mean, not that I was like going, not that I was, getting to do that, but like, going to bars in your bar scene to go see some punk screamo
Right.
bands or whatever. That's like, I think my parents, I think were always a little hesitant to let me go, but so I think it's good to,
Not me. I went. I snuck out.
yeah, I mean, I made it work, but I think it's good to like have a family vibe sometimes too. It doesn't all need to be hardcore. It should be hardcore, but it doesn't need to be like 18 plus all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can still be hardcore. I think you can still kind of capture the essence of all that. Like, if you've ever been to a place like Little Woodrow's, there's a lot of these like bar slash family venues opening up now, and I think it really like it. I get that some people probably like have their kids and they want like a break from their kids, and then that's okay. But I think when the way I look at it culturally, when it comes to like music and art, um, this is something that we should be engaging our youth in for the most part, so that they can be inspired to do more. And that's the purpose of like the Rock Fest. I didn't like wake up one morning and say, "Man, I want to throw a Rock Fest just because I want to, and it'd be so cool to do it." And all this other stuff because people like I've met people and people think like this is like one of those clout chasing kind of festivals. And I'm like, I don't have a reason to do it. It costs a lot of money. I mean, we're like $17,000 worth of sponsorship money. I worked really, really hard to make it happen to bring, give an opportunity to all these local bands that normally wouldn't get listened to play alongside Upon a Burning Body, which is a very well-known local band that made it out. And I wanted to create something that was culturally going to do something. So I want this to be an annual event every single year that people come together, family, friends that will enjoy this music and just hopefully be reignited. If not the parents, the kids, because that's where it starts. I remember when I was
Absolutely.
16 and I saw my first band, Warped Tour, and like that inspired me the most. So I'm hoping to kind of do the same with this.
And I hope so too, because I feel like San Antonio has always had like a very underrated like music scene, like especially
Yeah.
alternative music for sure. And it's just never gotten the spotlight that it really deserved as opposed to like Austin or like Dallas or I mean, honestly, all the other three big cities in Texas, I think all seem to have a more well-known scene, but like San Antonio, I think really punches above its weight.
Yeah, I think right now, so like much like Tejano, it doesn't change, right? For
Hmm.
that class of Latino here, and the rock scene here is what I call the 99.5 Kiss problem.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
mean,
lot of dad rock. It's still the same old bands and stuff, and you don't really get past that. And so we're trying to break the barrier. At least I'm trying to do that. We have the metal scene here, and metal's great and all, but I've been to so many metal shows like over the years, and especially this past year, and it all just sounds. I hate to say it, and it's the truth. It's just it all starts to sound the same after a while. Like it just you've heard the same song. It's the same screaming. It's the same stuff. But and it's not to knock on it because it's great music because I love metal too. But in effort to get a new group of people into the scene that we have to be a little bit more diverse, mixing in. So this festival not only has metal bands, but it has indie alternative, pop and punk, and you know, just kind of mixing it up a little bit. And that's one of the biggest accolades that we've accomplished, and these bands are really grateful for, is that they've never been in the same room with each other. A lot of these bands, and a lot of them were like, this is very like Warp Tour, and I was like, this
hmm.
is this is the idea, to bring a different subgenres of music together in the same spot so everybody has a little bit of something. um and that's kind of like the goal with that. But yeah, the scene here is it's okay. We're trying to create a new standard for it here. um Austin and Houston don't really like the San Antonio scene. I've gone out and asked questions, and man, I was like, man, that San Antonio rock scene, and it's just all negative. And I'm like, God, we got to do something
I think it's
to
almost like you gotta
shift.
know where to look, and it's also kind of has it's kind of almost it's kind of close knit almost too, but it's like it almost feels like it's like 10 years, not like in a bad way, but it almost feels like how the scene felt like 10 years ago. I think
Right.
it's almost like a time capsule,
Yeah,
which I
yeah.
think is really cool.
Yeah, and I agree with you because I think for like even for a while, like back in the early 2000s when like emo music was the thing. Um, I mean, even after that was the scene that I was like a diehard fan of, and even after a while, I got it's like, oh man, we need to change the music. You know, I went back to listen to like Stained and all the stuff I like got into in the beginning, and I think the one thing that we need to see rock do is I love country music, but I love how country music is consistently evolving, and they make their music to fit pop and rap and rock. And I think Rodney from Falling in Reverse is like really inspiring a lot of people, where he's mixing his rock and roll with rap, and he's just releasing singles, and it's really cool to see something fresh in that scene. So I'm hoping that with this we'll be able to entice some people to start thinking a little more creatively with their music and see what they can do.
Absolutely. And I think like mixing genres for festivals is the way of the future. And it's just you kind of just have to do it now. And I think it makes for a really cool experience being able to like see
Mhm.
so many different flavors of rock. And so,
Yeah.
but I guess let's throw this back a little further. You got your start, I guess, on TikTok, right? That's kind of how this all
Yeah.
began. Chocolate
Yeah.
Academy.
Yeah, so my grandmother had passed away during COVID. I got laid off of my job. I was working for Cricket. I was making like 70 grand a year. I got laid off the week after they announced the whole thing with COVID, on in an email on my vacation. All the ops managers just, hey, world problem, you're let go. So like a lot of people, I just
Fucked
filed
up.
for unemployment, kind of just was like, whatever,
Hmm.
we can't do anything. And then my grandmother passed away in July from COVID. And I was really bummed out about that because I did have to watch her funeral through a YouTube live video, which was kind of tells you where the world was at that point. It was really scary. And a few months later, I want to say like September, late September, I wound up getting COVID, and I was at the point of dying. Like I messaged my friends, left notes for my family. My friend still has the voice message I sent him, where I was like, "This is it, man. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I had a ton of bricks on my chest. I was immobile. Like I couldn't really do much." And so I used whatever strength I had left to do what I thought I needed to do, and fell asleep thinking I was never going to get up again. And I woke up feeling just fine. I don't know what happened, some like miracle. And my daughter just like, "Hey, Dad, you know what we should do? We should make a TikTok because we don't have any photos of you. We'll do like a digital thing." And I was like, TikTok, isn't that where all the kids dance? It's so stupid, you know. And the first video I ever made was kind of like in honor of my grandmother, and that video got like 8.2 million views. And I started showcasing what it was like to grow up as a low income Latino, like the real side of growing up low income, not this over exaggerated stereotypical thing. Like I had hardworking family and stuff, and people just really resonated with it. And so what I started to do was I said, if I'm going to grow a platform, I'm going to give back to my community first. And the reason for that is because they follow me and they share my stuff. So without them, I wouldn't be who I am today. So they're my boss essentially. And now everything I ever wanted to do as a kid, every opportunity that I could have ever dreamed of having, I'm using my platform to do that for other people. And that's kind of where like all of this has carried me now. It's I want to be able to give to those who really deserve it, but also want it at the same time. And that's where TikTok has led me, death to like bringing life to something that didn't really exist here before.
That's, I mean, incredibly inspirational. And did you even imagine you'd be putting on a music festival like 4 or 5 years ago? Did that even like occur to you in your mind that this was a possibility, I guess, or?
No, I think that's probably like the typical answer most people give is like no, but at one point this was supposed to happen last year. So what I had wanted to do at the time was do a Tejano rock mashup thing where we took rock bands and Tejano music together and play with it and create just kind of like bridge the gap between two generations. And I got laughed at by the Tejano community, like literally like dogged on for even thinking of it. And it was one of those things that I just kind of threw to the wayside, and I was like, nah, this was never going to happen. And then I met a band called West Creek. I'd known the drummer Rocco for a long, long time, and he introduced me to his buddy named John. And I pitched John what I was trying to do, and John was like, "If we can get you the bands, do you think we could do this?" And I go, "Man, I don't have a venue. I don't have nothing like at all." And at this time, I was still kind of growing a little bit more. And then I don't know what happened. I just blew up again. Businesses wanted me to come out and do videos for them, and one of them happened to be Alamo Beer Company. And that's kind of how it just spread. And we've pulled this together in 2 months.
In two
So
months?
in 2 months, I think we announced it
My
in
God.
January that it was going to happen. But I've been really blessed because we made that announcement. I actually went to a concert here at the Techport Arena, and that's on the west side. And I met this old man. He was in the mosh pit, came back, came up the stairs, sitting next to him, and I told him my whole idea, and he's like, "Let me get your email. We got to talk." I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And wound up finding out is the CEO and the president of Techport,
Oh
and
shit.
he's a metalhead himself.
Oh cool.
And he's like, "We're gonna make this happen no matter what." So I was like, "Okay." And so for sure next year it'll be at the Techport Arena, but I didn't want to wait that long. So I told him, I was like, "I'm gonna throw this first one. I'm gonna prove to you I can get this done in at that time 3 months." And then I was like, "Oh my God, what did I just commit myself to?" And then that's when I found out about these guys. And then I was like, "Dude, I have 2 months to put this together. The Techport guy is gonna be there." And I'm like, "I don't know what to do." And sure enough, I mean, so far he's impressed, but like it just happened really fast, like super fast. And I mean, we're 2 days away for crying out loud. So
So looking back, like how much time would you give yourself to put this all together if you
this is about a year's work.
a year's
Like
work and you did it in 2 or 3 months
I did,
basically?
yeah, it's about a year's work, man. Like we had people sponsor and then pull back their sponsorship. People like did this, did that. It was a lot of back and forth. And I'm telling you, this festival, like we literally made it to this point by the skin on our teeth, man. Like it was that close. So, but we're glad it's happening, and we almost got kicked out because of the rain, but thank God it didn't rain. All the viejitas came out and did their chants and shit, and all their
A lot of
sanas
a
and
lot of
todo.
palo
And
blanco in the air and
Yep.
stuff, man.
yeah, some lady was outside using her knife, cutting the rain or whatever the fuck she was doing. Uh, so, but we're lucky enough that it's still going to happen. We have 65 vendors, so the idea of the festival is to not just promote music, right? But we also want to try to boost the local economy in some way. And so that's really what it's going to do too as well. It's going to help out and, you know, bring something new that we don't usually get.
And it almost has like feels like it has like that San Antonio festival like fiesta kind of like feel to it too, which I think is really cool. And it's like I guess a week before that. Is Fiesta in 2 weeks
Fiesta
or
is
is
in 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay,
Yeah. So luckily it's in 2 weeks.
you don't have to be with
Yeah,
it.
it's in
Just
2 weeks.
Easter.
So yeah, because I was like, I'm trying to really, I mean, I want this to be an addition to things that you can do during April,
Yes.
but I'm very competitive. You know, I want people to come to this festival. Fiesta, I loved it at some point, but it's just really expensive. Chicken patties on
Oh
a
yeah.
stick, beer, and people just walking through bottlenecked areas is what it is. It's what it's become. And
And but you get to keep
I
the
was like,
cups though.
All the necios are out, dude.
mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
the todo necio allá. But
The guys with
Dave,
the side hats and the low jeans doing that little shuffle.
I think keeping your event free too is also going to entice a lot of people. So if it does wind up in the future being closer to Fiesta, I know you said that next year you're looking to have it at Techport, even though that's over there by not Lackland, Kelly, the old
Mhm.
Kelly, and that's like far away from where Fiesta events usually are. Maybe that should entice people to go because
Oh yeah.
people if it's gonna be continue to be free, people will gravitate towards that, especially for like entertainment and stuff.
Yeah, for the first 2 years, I mean, we're trying to do as much free as possible.
Yeah.
I know that next year, and I can say this out loud. I know that next year we're either going to get Avenged Sevenfold or Pierce Seville to headline next year for the local bands to
Let me
play
get my
with.
tickets booked already, man. Shoot.
All right.
And I
Well,
mean, at
I
some
guess we'll
point,
be
you know,
there.
Chapter
Awesome.
4. Chapter 4 is
at
playing in the
some point,
background.
there's got to
Dun,
be some
dun,
kind of
dun.
premium that would have to go into that, right? Like the event itself would be free. And seeing the bands prior would probably be free, but to see these big bands, right, these big national bands, of course they're going to demand something. So
They're gonna want
there's
to
going
cut.
to be some. I have to find a way to make it free, but at the same time, you know, pay these
You-
people to be there.
Think about how
So
much Oyster Bake is and who they get. Like you're paying $50 to go see Chevelle. Like no disrespect, they're one of my favorite bands. I've loved them since 2000, but like they play
yeah, it's
like
not worth it.
if you're gonna go bigger, it's good. There's a guarantee, like they're gonna want their guarantee and stuff. So I get
Yeah,
it. No man, and this is great. I as a born and bred San Antonian, I'm happy for new events to come to the city, something different for people. And there is a shift going back towards more of a family oriented thing. A lot of people are kind of as much as San Antonio is still a party town. Like I moved away 7 years ago, but I
Mhm.
know that there's still a very much a San Antonio mentality, and I mean
Right.
that with all love and respect. But
Yeah, yeah. No, I get you.
something different does need to come about because people, as much as they say that they like things the way they are, there's a growing group of people that want something different. There's going to be
Yeah,
your diehards, your stalwarts. Like when you're talking about the Tejano thing, I'm like, yeah, who steals are being hard asses. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
so
Tejano music is so overrated, man. It's a very drama filled place, and when I say Tejano is dying, I don't mean it out of like disrespect, right? It's kind of like you can't bring back disco. As much as I love emo stuff and emo music, that's gone too. Now it's relegated to going to Brass Monkey and listening to over speakers, and it's just a bunch of middle aged people just at it on a dance floor moshing to shit. People are like, "Yeah, emo night forever. We're never going to the club," and I'm like, "Dude, this is the
this is the
club.
club.
This is exactly the club.
The club.
There's no live band
It's
here."
like literally
This is bogeys. This is
Like
Yeah,
bogeys.
I
the
was
Let's
like,
pink,
dude, I
party.
yeah.
could do this at home. I'll tell you, I love the people at Brass Monkey, and I don't care who sees it. But I called them posers one time because I put on a My Chem song. I asked, And they're like, oh, we love My Chem. I put on, I think, a song called "You Don't Know What They Do to Guys Like Us in Prison." That's like one of their biggest songs, and
I
everybody
know
was
that
just
one.
standing around. And at that point, I was just like, I'm fucking done. I'm out. Like, get the fuck out of here. I don't know how many times I can listen to fucking Pierce the Veil and whoever else
Oh
these
yeah.
fucking people are. I'm out.
Well, actually, I might be DJing there sometime soon, so maybe I'll
Oh
try to play
god.
some good stuff.
Where at?
The
Nah.
deep cuts, just play like a solid hour of Deftones.
Oh, dude, I would love that.
You know, I think they're like they don't already do that.
2 hours, 2 hours.
2
2
hours of
hours.
Deftones.
Yeah, I've been forgetting about like this whole DJ thing. Like I kind of see what it is, right? But at the same time, I feel like it might kill live music because I was actually when I was in Austin, I met a bar owner out there, and I promised I wouldn't call out his bar or anything like that. But what he was telling me, his plan is within the next year or so was that he was going to rip down his stage area and build a bigger like dance floor area, and they were going to have listening parties for bands instead of having them live because now they don't have to pay them to be there. No lights, no setup, no nothing, and just play their fucking music, and that was
That's
it.
the most Austin shit I've ever heard.
I mean,
I've never
it
heard of that
is.
before.
It's the
That's
most craziest shit, and I'm like, if this one guy has this idea, it other people are doing. I mean, it's what's happening at Brass Monkey. It's just DJ music the whole night. I'm like, where do I go see a live local rock show? You got to go to like Rockbox or like Vibes, and then sometimes it's like it's stupid expensive to even get in there.
and they're kind of like really sterile. They're like not you. I kind of want like I want to watch a band like in a dive. I don't want to watch it in like some concrete room that they just built 10 years ago or something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Is
you need
Bond
the
still a thing?
feeling too.
Bonds was a thing back then. I mean, I don't know if I think they
It
still
just
do
I
shows.
don't know. It just feels like it has really good sound quality, but it just feels like so sterile. Like what's the
Yeah,
one that's behind it
very
though?
clinical.
For
Um,
Tuckers, not Tuckers.
I don't remember who I saw there, but there's like yeah, there's like another venue right by there, and um that one's like kind of cool because it's like you're in like an old like warehouse or something, and it's like really
yeah.
thin, and it's got like cool furniture and like lamps and shit. But I don't know, it just the vibes are so much cooler or something. It's just because it's just not,
I
you
forget.
know.
I haven't been there in a while. I did go to a show at the Rock Box last year. I saw Glassjaw at the Rock Box.
You saw Glassjaw?
Yeah,
Lucky
I've seen him a few
SOB.
times. Yeah.
Was with the Fall of Troy? Were they with
No,
them or
it
Oh,
was
the
just
Fall of
just
Troy.
them. They played Worship and I was back to back. It was tight. Everybody sang along the whole time. Daryl could have just walked off the stage and the rest of the crowd would just sing the fucking song.
I hate you so much. Every time Glassjaw came to San Antonio, when I went to go see them, they either canceled or they didn't make it. It was always something, and I'm just like, I'm never gonna see these guys. I'm
Nah,
like, I'll just go pop in my Head Auto CD instead.
hey man, Head Out. You could get your chance to see Head Auto, man. They're out there again.
oh dude,
Yeah,
I
that's like
know.
half the reason I'm going to So What, but
I almost bought tickets to Furnace Fest just for that. But I was like,
Man.
do it.
Yeah, I know. Right now, and like you were mentioning, free George. Right now, I'm talking to some investors right now because we want to create a new venue, and we're probably going to like pre-host this at Alamo Beer Company for the time being. But we've come up with a concept called the demo room, and
Ooh.
this is where you're going to hear all of the new
Demo room.
bands in San Antonio. Like this is where we want them to come out of, like new music every single time. Like we would want to invite some people back from now and then, but it's always going to be new music, and we're always going to try to make sure that these bands are on their toes. Like we have like our setup is going to be where we have these bands audition for us, and they have to work really hard and be coordinated and creative and really love what they do. Because I'm telling you, I've been to some places and it's like they let anybody play on stage. I've seen some bands where it's just like it's a group of friends that just like to play, and I'm like, I want to listen to some music. I want to get into some stuff. Um, but the concept with that is it would be just free entry all the time,
Oh,
and
that's
we would,
awesome.
yeah, we would, everything else would get covered if we have alcohol and all that other stuff. And I think I think we said at one point if we charged anything, it'd be like $3 to get in. So it'd be like super cheap.
Yeah.
So we want to kind of bring that back too. Like I'm literally living off of nostalgia right now. Like we even have a show called URL Music. And with that, I don't know if any of y'all have heard of TRL or just MTV in
Yeah.
general.
I remember TRL.
So URL it's what it is. It's a top 10 music video countdown show with rock music. We already have our hosts. We're going to be covering stuff. We're going to do live shows. We're going to do anything and everything. Because I was literally watching like an old MTV, like we're live in Cancun, and it was just like the biggest stars that were there at the time. We really want to try to shape the music scene here and tell people like, hey, you should listen to these bands. These are people that you should, take your time and effort to listen to. So far, it's kind of been working for us. We just recently gave a few bands like Perfect Season and Aztec Eagles, which are amazing bands, which I've never heard of before until now. And I'm jamming out to the music. I got them an opportunity to play at Techport in an arena for the first time ever. So that's kind of where I'm trying to use my platform, is to shine a light on these bands, and hopefully it'll give them the stamp of approval when it comes to what we're doing. And I will tell you something else that I can announce here, because it's like a for sure thing. So Upon a Burning Body and I have teamed up. We are going to create a show called The Lineup. And what that is we're going to find bands in San Antonio that are struggling, that don't have their shit together. And we're going to like build a show all around that, help them try to build up their band. And if they succeed, they get to be a part of a special lineup show that they headline. So we're getting all of that in the works. Everything is in pre-production right now. So we're really trying to shine a light on the music scene, like as much as we can. So hopefully it works out.
That's cool. That's really
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, these are all great ideas. Like I think
Go big or go home.
Yeah, exactly.
TRL nostalgia, man. I mean, that's where people saw like their new favorite bands were on TRL. I remember back in the day, like Carson brought it, like Good Charlotte brought it, Avenged Sevenfold, Limp Bizkit, and Linkin Park, and Korn were all over TRL. Avenged Sevenfold took over TRL. Yeah, Good Charlotte. Yeah, like I said, the spring break thing. I was remembering old clips, like
when they blew up the boat, right?
Yeah, they blew up the boat. And they're jamming Crazy Town, and like somebody who's like a CEO of some venture capitalist firm was out there like dancing on some rando. You know what I mean?
So like
so
when you say a show, like you're doing this like on YouTube, or you doing this on TikTok or like Insta, or like where is the platform for this?
So right now we're gonna start just kind of sharing a full show. The show will be 30 minutes with including the music videos, maybe a little bit longer. But I just struck a deal with a buddy of mine who works for a TV startup company. And so we're going to have our very own streaming platform, which will be on Roku, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV. And we're hoping to launch that by the end of the year. And I've been telling people this over and over and over about social media. It's become an entertainment platform. And the way things are going right now, people are telling me, you're crazy to start a streaming service. Who's going to watch it? I was like, if TikTok goes away, you're going to go back to Instagram. And if Instagram goes to shit, where are you going to go? I create a streaming platform based off of my platform, and now you got something to watch. I go, you watch Netflix and Hulu and Peacock. I mean, you literally have different options to watch stuff. Now I'm going to create content using my platform. And it's not just going to be my stuff. This year, we're going to be launching what we're calling Chancla Academy Texas. We've already met with creators in Austin and Dallas and Houston, Corpus, and the RGV area, where they're all going to provide content to some extent for the platform, but it has to be high quality content. We're not just like throwing shit on there and just like, oh, okay, there's content there. But we're really going to build a TV streaming service that people can come and watch all of this stuff. And we can even do live broadcasting and everything. So it's still in the works. I mean, there's a lot of stuff being worked on behind the scenes with that. But we're also building the content library right now. So when you go on, we're going to give you at least 2 to 3 months worth of content to watch. And that way you're not bored. And then after that, we're going to see how it grows.
Really awesome, man.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever talked about building a streaming service on here before, but this is like kind of this is very impressive, honestly. Like this is very cool that you're working on this stuff. So
Yeah, we want to do something new. I'll be honest with you, it's not hard to do any of the stuff I'm doing. Just gotta have the passion, the drive, and the means to like find ways to make it happen. Um, it's been, I mean, it is hard to some extent, but at the same time, if you build a really strong community, I mean, the sky's the limit with everything. So that's all I can tell you on that.
yeah, it's all about connections.
Yeah, for the most part.
You got to be nice to people.
I'm not nice to everybody. I'm one of those. Oh, you don't want to work with me? I'm gonna take exactly what you do and I'm gonna do it better. And I did
Yeah,
that same
that's
thing with the
that's the other
news.
thing. Spite and pettiness, that'll also, that could get you far if you use it what right.
I
Fight.
think what I yeah, I think with like it's like for example with the news, there was some stuff that happened and the moment I launched URL news platform on TikTok, we gained 41,000 followers in 2 days. So
Wow.
I think people want to they they want somebody to believe in where they can actually go and get something, some value from it.
Yeah.
And I don't do it out of spite. I'm just sick and tired of seeing, like, you guys are great, like, just talking to you, you guys are great and everything. And I would hate to see a podcast like yours go to the wayside because of some other people, you know what I mean? And that's kind of where I'm built on. It's like seeing guys like you who are taking the time to do a podcast and reach out to people, and you're trying to live your dream. Why not work? Why can't I work really hard to provide some kind of resource for you guys to grow? You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's kind of
absolutely.
where it comes from. So tired of seeing the little man get beat on.
Well, we appreciate, I
Respect.
mean, I appreciate you coming on. It's I think it's great that you give back to, like, because this whole festival, I think, is just like, I remember listening to the news segment you had. Like, it just sounds so cool that you're just like trying to help out local bands, honestly. And I think it seems like all your projects are about helping out,
Yeah.
and but doing it almost like in a fun way where you're getting to make content along the way.
Yeah, we got to build the path, man. We people like ourselves, we got to build the path somehow. And if my thing doesn't become super super successful, I'm sure that there'll be some kid out there. I never know, one of you guys um, could be fully inspired by that and maybe do it 10 times better than I ever could. And that's what I want to see. Is I want somebody to come in and say, "All right, you may not have made it, or I did make it. Let's see what we can do to improve." It's all about growth and making something last for a long time. So I'm trying to build a legacy for Latinos, for the most part, not for myself but for Latinos in general, um, to at least start creating. And if they can do that, then even better for the rest of us.
Absolutely. So I guess one other thing I was kind of wondering about was, I guess, how did you like get into like the emo alternative pop punk scene or metal scene, all the scenes you're in, I guess. Like where did that start out? Because now you're kind of,
uh
seems like you're living out your passion, I guess.
yeah, no, I
Yeah.
actually a friend of mine kept on trying to invite me to emo night at Brass Monkey, and I was like, dude, I'm not going to Brass Monkey. That sounds really dumb. I don't want to go. I had seen photos and I'd seen YouTube videos and stuff. And so he's like, come on, man, you got to come. And I was like, okay. So I said, you know what? I'm going to make a video about going to this place, and it'll be funny because, I was expecting to see exactly what I saw when I got there. And I did the video, and the video blew up. And people were like, we didn't know you like, this music and that music. And I was like, yeah, like, I love this music. It's just, that's who I am as a person. And I was well received by everybody. I was treated like family and stuff. There was a couple things in there, sprinkle of drama that I was like, ugh, but you know, um, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I knew it was there, but at the time I was just too busy working with other small businesses. So it wasn't like I didn't want to be there. But I started going again and just kind of like researching and like seeing what the scene was about now. And then I noticed that there was something huge that was missing. and it was like the lack of live music and
Michael,
just yeah, I was just kind of like everywhere somebody invites me, there's always a DJ. Like, what's going on? So I set out to try to revive the rock scene, if you will. Some people are like, it doesn't need revival. I was all like, we need a revival right now. We need to bring back live music. And then I started honestly listening to a lot of these bands, man. Like they started submitting their music before the festival, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like, what are we doing? Like, why aren't these bands playing at Brass Monkey? Why aren't these songs on the radio? Why aren't like where's all this music? I remember used to going to shows. Like the reason why I went to the Rabbit was to support my friends' bands. Like we went and it was like you went to see these local bands. That's what it was about. And you know, and it's kind of like that now, but it's different because we used to stay for all of the bands. Now they're worried about set times. Hey, what time are you going? All right, I'll be there. Boom, from 9:30 to 10. They're there for a little bit, and then they leave, and they don't even give the other band an opportunity. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, what are we doing? We're ruining
I
the
mean, that's
scene
the
for
best
everybody.
part is discovering the new bands. Honestly, that was always like kind of almost my favorite part was like hearing a band that I'd never heard of before and letting them woo me with like with their stage presence and stuff. But
Yeah, I noticed that a lot. Like whenever I do shows with my band, a lot of people just come in and watch one band and just leave, and it's just it's just a cycle, man.
and I remember I didn't mean to cut you off, Blaine,
No,
if
it's
you
fine. No, I'm
but
done talking.
sorry. I remember sorry about someone told me that the reason that like Warped Tour ended was because people would show up there and they would just sit around and people would be like, how come you're not watching the shows? And it's like, well, I just watch it on YouTube afterwards or whatever. Like they wouldn't actually go watch the bands. They were just there to, be there,
Wow.
not a yeah. So and that's kind of among many other things, that was something that kind of killed Warped Tour is that
I was going to say, like,
yeah.
there's a lot of other things that killed Warped Tour. I
Too
mean,
much of
Yeah, a
this.
lot of
Yeah, I
other
actually
things, but
talked
like
to.
it's
Oh my God, is that a razor?
It's the new Razor, baby.
that's
that's
Throwback.
awesome. That's nostalgic as fuck.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
closing
But
that
I
on
guess
after an angry call, like. I
Yeah.
actually spoke to two experts from that did Warp Tour,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, and they were for the most part they did a lot of stage managing, but they also like managed the times and all that stuff. And I talked to them, and I was like, look, like how do I, you know, handle this festival? And you're right, Justin. Like a lot of things killed Warp Tour, but a lot of it really had to do with money. A lot of these bands were blowing up, and they wanted more and more money, and that it was understandable. So they really couldn't keep up with the cost of taking it on tour and then these bands getting their money. And I can tell you from what I understood from them that they weren't getting paid. A lot of the bands weren't getting paid that well to
yeah,
begin with. So I
Yeah.
think
still aren't
that was
really too
yeah.
right.
It kind of like that's kind of where I think it mainly killed it off. But this whole thing like with I know people have been giving me shit about set times too. They're like, when are you gonna release the set times? I was like, I'm not giving you shit. You have to show up to the festival. The set times will be on a banner and you figure it out. Like I don't owe y'all anything. Like I don't owe you shit. I go, just show up. It's free. You're
Mhm.
not paying. You have no obligation to stay, you know. And
It's not
and I
like
go,
you're
at
getting a
least
wristband or something. You're not
I
going to get
saw
kicked
that.
out
Like I
if
saw
you
that
leave
video
or
and I
whatever.
clapped.
It's
I
like,
was like,
yeah,
I got a lot of shit from it from people on the back end, and I was just like, y'all are you guys are destroying the very thing that you're trying to be a part of, and you don't understand that. And so I mean, we know. I feel like beforehand the set times might get leaked, um, and that's just kind of like my paranoia. Um, but if it does, I mean, that just means I need to learn and kind of like build from that or whatever in the future. But we're really trying to create a new standard when it comes to music. It's like, I went to Warp Tour and we didn't know the set times of when these bands were going on. They were just
Right.
throwing on a flyer like these people are going to be here, show up. I remember one time one girl posted set times. She's like, My Chemical Romance went on at 4:30 here in Alabama, but when I went to Warp Tour, they went on at 8.
yep,
So I'm over here
yep.
thinking like, yeah, we're gonna like 4:30. I got there and I had to wait so long
Yep.
just to see them. But I never went to Warped Tour just to like see a particular band. Like I would go see who I want to see, but then I would just like walk around and like rediscover. Just like I mean, I've gotten in touch with so many. I don't know if you ever heard of a band called Protest the Hero,
Yeah, no.
Yes.
dude. They had 12 people at their stage. I was walking around, and I just heard "No Stars Over Bethlehem," and I just turned and I was like, "What is this?" And I saw them live, and that was the last time I saw them live because after that they got really big, and I fell in love with them, and that's kind of like where I left off, where I was like, I'm gonna come to every single Warped Tour. I'm gonna see who I'm gonna see, and then after that, I'm gonna make it my mission to find out all these new bands because how many bands have I been missing? So that's kind of where this comes from, where I'm not like
Right.
releasing set times to the public beforehand and stuff. I just think it's unfair um, to anybody for that matter. I would hate to see an empty stage or in terms of like people not there. It's sad. It's disrespectful, I
Yeah,
think so. So
absolutely.
we're hoping people understand that.
That's kind of like one thing I like that you're doing with your festival that Warped Tour did was giving like these bands a platform and a stage to play to be discovered, like you said, smaller bands, getting to play with like these bigger bands, kind of like what Warped Tour did. Like they had a stage where, like these smaller bands got to get on and help them reach an audience and get discovered. So I applaud you for that, man. And it's really inspiring what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's the goal. Every single year, we want to try to get as many big bands as we can in the future nationally wise, but we don't ever want to do something that's going to overshadow the locals.
Right.
Somebody's like, "Oh, you should do both Pierce and Avenge," but I'm like, we're only going to get one. We're only one, and that's the way it's going to be every single year. We want to build the roster of music we already have. Like we want people to say, and I just use these as an example. Like I want people to say, "Man, I can't wait to see Perfect Season again. They were so great last year. I want to see them again." Or a new band, that's what we want. We want to rebuild the music scene, and I think that's where like the URL music comes in, because now we can use a platform to say this is who you should listen to, not in the way like you got to listen to these people or else kind of thing, but it's like that's what MTV did, right?
This
They
is
built the path every year to who you listen to that year. And that's what we're going to do is every single year we're going to kind of change it up, whether it be the genre or the bands or whoever it is. We're going to give people a variety every single year of who you should listen to. I mean, that's
Yeah.
already what the music industry does. I mean,
it's the
last
whole
year it was all
playlist
about Bad
thing, and
Bunny. Yeah. And now Bad Bunny's out, and I don't know who the fuck Ice Spice is, but she's in right now. So
Spice.
Never heard of that.
Oh man.
Ice Spice is awesome. But I mean, like the whole playlist side of things is huge right now, and it's almost like you're creating like a visual playlist. I guess is kind of almost what it's like. So
yeah, I think people like. I mean, Spotify and all that stuff, and the way people like listen to music, it's great. I think it's easier and more accessible for people who may not get like to go to these events or have any kind of issues being around people or whatever the case may be. And it's great to have that technology, but I still want to utilize the very same technologies that are allowing us to advance to be able to use it to inspire somebody to want to create. Like I want people to look at it and be like, I don't want that version of music to die. The music videos, the live music, the FOMO that gets created. Like I have to go to this show. I have to see this person. I need, that's what we're trying to recreate. And most people might say, well, that's not going to work. It's not going to be for everybody, but we hope that the people that do watch it will enjoy it and help reignite the scene a little bit. And it won't always be rock and roll all the time. Eventually we'll look at rap and country music and other things too, to kind of give it a mixed variety in the future as we continue to grow. But we're really, really hoping that what this specifically will do is people will look at San Antonio rock scene and respect it a little bit more and say, somebody's out there being serious about promoting these bands and trying to shine a light on them. And that's what we want to see. We want the respect. We need it.
and the respect you all deserve, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
And I
Oh, yeah.
guess my earlier question, I guess I asked you is how you got into this. I meant like back when you were like in high school or whatever. Like
Oh,
what
my
was
bad, bro. Sorry.
but it's all
Totally going
good.
off on a
But
different tangent.
You want to give us
Yeah.
that one real quick? Because I think that would be really interesting to hear, like what your entrance to all this was.
Yeah, no. So before I ever went to my first Warped Tour, my dad was into like glam rock. He was into like Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses. So I love 80s rock and roll. I think it's like the most amazing thing out there.
I agree,
And
to be honest.
yeah, it was very theatrical, and I love
Oh yeah.
theatrics. It's why I'm into like Coheed and Cambria and like My Chemical Romance and Avenged, and they're very theatrical. And Queen, I love the theatrics. I feel like rock and roll, that's what it is, right? It's a lot of storytelling. But my dad bought me, and I think this is gonna sound cliche, but my dad bought me the Black Album from Metallica, and I used to jam out to that like all the time with him, like every single time. And now I can barely even remember, the name of the song on the album, but if I hear it, like I know, and it's just kind of like that's where I was at that time. But my dad listened to like a variety of music, so I always like every single day I was just like I would tell my dad like, who else can I listen to? And that's when he got me into like the glam rock stuff, you know, listening to like Twisted Sister and stuff. Like I was just like, who are these people? They're so amazing. And then you find somebody like Alice in Chains and Ozzy, and you're just like, oh, there's a dark side to this. And that's kind of like how I got into it. It was just listening. My dad would always tell me to sit and like close my eyes and like feel the music and listen to it. I would ignore the lyrics half the time, but I would really listen to what they were playing. And to hear the sounds and to every little facet that they put into the music is what got me into it, because I was just like, rock and roll music is a literal fucking art. Like it's these nice, beautiful masterpieces of art that people don't understand. People are like, oh, I love the lyrics. I'm all like, nah, really listen to it. Really listen to it, the dynamic of it all. And that's kind of like where I got into it, because I was just like, I wanted to be in like musical theater growing up. I love acting. I loved singing at the time. And I didn't know you could do this with rock and roll. I thought, oh, it was just opera and, fancy music and shit. But when I started done with rock and roll, it really embedded me into the scene, because I was like, I got to discover more, like more. I got obsessed. Like, I still have like 300 CD cases in my closet of just bands that I listened to over the years. So, but that's how I got into it. Just like that.
Just listening.
Just listening. I think that's the way it is for everybody. You
Yeah,
hear a
because
song
Absolutely.
and
I guess that's how that starts, really.
yeah, you
Black
don't
Album's
go and get,
definitely it's definitely a great way to get into all this, honestly. I think that's kind of almost similar to me, where like Metallica, honestly, Molly Crew for sure, like all that stuff. And I think there's like kind of almost like a parallel maybe of like the glam hair metal stuff. It's like
yeah.
the the hardcore scene almost, which is kind of like of today, not like back then, but there's almost, and I even back then actually, I think like there were a lot of like those glam bands were influenced by like hardcore, and now it's almost
Oh
like the
yeah.
opposite where the
You look
what
at Black Veil Brides, and they're really like, you can tell they're
oh yeah,
inspired by like glam rock.
but like
It's
even
just
Molly Crew, they
darker.
were like inspired by like punk and hardcore stuff too.
Yeah.
So, and like Guns N' Roses, so it's like
Yeah.
it's always trading back and forth and stuff. And as much as maybe one side doesn't want to admit that they're inspired by it, but I think
Oh yeah.
yeah.
But that's what I love about rock and roll. It's so many different things. It's so many different things, but a lot of it's segregated. You have your like Pantera people, like as I say, like the dad
Yeah.
rock stuff. Somebody play Walk
brother,
right
no, you know what
now.
I'm saying? Nah, brother, I don't want those guy liner wearing guys. You go over there with that stuff, man. I'm gonna listen to some.
It's always some like
Yeah.
6 foot tall old white dude with the long beard, always wears shades, fucking cargo shorts, and a fucking band t-shirt. Those are the guys.
Those are the
Oh, I
dudes
Oh
that,
bet
yeah.
you that
that
guy
were
listens
at
to
my
that shit.
shows. Yeah, I know them well.
You
And
can,
they always got something
but
to say about the about your band, right?
Yeah, something to say about the stage. Like, why are you guys wearing that stuff, man? I'm like, oh man, a guy caught your attention, right? So,
look at those pansies up
You're
there. Those
talking
guys
about
really
it
good.
now.
Yeah, I used to be in a band too. Back in the day, I was in a band called Steel Stilettos, and I mean, I sang. We got to play at Warped Tour one time, not on a big stage, we won some contest that was here in San Antonio. Well, no, I'm lying. It wasn't in San Antonio. It was in Selma, and you the way it was is you submitted like your stuff through at that time MySpace, and you got a chance to play like on an Ernie Ball stage. Some like, but we got to
Yeah.
play on like a really shitty stage.
Yep.
They called us on our way over there. We played like 2.5 songs. That was it. And then the dad, my friend's dad, who's a lead guitarist, was like, "Oh, my son's really good." He pulled his son from the band, and we had to dismember because we didn't know any. Everybody was in a band at the time, so
Yeah.
it was so hard to find a guitarist. So I was just like, fuck it, whatever. And so I went on and lived my life. But I started getting into doing shows, and I threw my first ever house show, and Upon a Burning Body played my first ever house show.
Oh,
Like
nice.
first
It's
ever.
full circle, right?
It's
Yeah,
full circle.
dude.
Danny and them even remember. They're like, "Yeah, no, I remember that show." And so it was crazy because it's like now you're playing the first ever rock fest. So it's crazy. It's really
It's cool.
crazy to see.
It's, I mean, it's
You
just
made-
you make connections through the years, and they come back and they play your festival, right? And so
Yeah,
That's rad
I'm-
though, man. That's real rad.
I'm still dreaming. I think I'm still dreaming.
Coming a long way from jamming someone's backyard, right?
Oh man, I remember we gave them just two what are they called? I don't even know what they're called. It was 2 pallets with some plywood on top. That was their stage. It broke and they had to just play on the dirt.
Yep.
And that was it. That was the show, but they enjoyed the hell out of it. So, it was probably one of the best things ever. And then after that, I just was like, whatever. But now it's like crazy now because now I'm gonna get to work with them and do some stuff and help them out. And it's so weird. I'm 37 now, so it's just like fuck. Couldn't this come sooner? But I guess everything happens in the time that it needs to happen. So I'm enjoying it.
absolutely. Blaine or George, do y'all have any more questions or?
So yeah, the only question I was going to ask was about the Upon a Burning Body. Was that when they were like still local, or were they like known around that time?
They were very, very local at the time. They were just barely blowing up at the time.
So like, was this like MySpace days or?
Yeah, it was MySpace
Okay.
days.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
they were just blowing up. I remember, I think like a year after that or so. I think that's when they got signed and stuff.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
I think that's
Yeah,
kind of
they-
cool, like after so many years, you get to work with them again and they're headlining your festival, and I know that's just crazy, man.
They're super. It's crazy. They're super. I mean, Danny and Ruben are the only 2 original members of the whole thing. So it's kind of nice to have them around. I wish they would get all of the original members for this show,
Yeah,
but I don't think that's going to happen. But
yeah, the
one day.
likeliness of that happening.
one day.
They're kicking around.
They'll
San
play a
Antonio
house
somewhere.
show with. Oh, my bad, George, but
No, you're good. Go ahead,
they'll get the whole lineup back together and play a house show for you.
Yeah.
We'll do it for George.
Mhm.
Oh, I remember speaking to them. I remember seeing them jam room at the Rabbit. I knew some of the members of that band from back then, and then like in the hardcore scene in the early 2000s, like going to see other friends' bands play, and they would happen to be on the bill. And even my own band, which didn't fit into that genre at all. Just you get like a 30 band bill show on the Rabbit on a Saturday, and you just go and see a bunch of other bands. So hearing you talk about it stuff brings back a lot of nostalgia for me, having grown up there. Like I'm the same age. I'll be 38 in a few weeks, and like I was in
super
bands in
cool.
San Antonio back then too. So I was like, we said your band's name was like I think I heard of y'all back when. Probably seen y'all open with somebody, maybe like with the Echidnas
Probably,
or
dude.
like I'm not gonna name drop because we'd be here like all day. But and speaking of bands, there's a lot of like when I looked at the lineup, I was like, I remember some of these bands from my time in San Antonio. Who are you most excited to see?
You scooped my
Uh,
question.
Yeah, who are you most excited to see? I mean, you don't have to, but not to pick favorites, but like who
I have
are
a
you most
favorite.
excited to see, and who surprised you when they submitted their music?
It is Recreating Eden. Uh,
Okay.
I think this is the most proud moment of my life. They've been on hiatus for 5 years, and I
Okay.
asked them to please play,
Okay.
and they
Okay.
reunited
They rip.
for
heard them.
Chancla Academy Rock Fest.
That's badass. I tried to
awesome.
find their Facebook and stuff, like, where the hell's their music? It's not on Spotify. I had to go on YouTube. I saw a session video they did for Devil in the Details. I was like, holy shit, this is really good. And I'm not a prog guy.
They
Like,
are
yeah,
fucking amazing. I remember you can go to their YouTube videos.
Yeah.
You can see my comments that I've left 2 years ago on there. They're such an amazing band. I think part of where they might have, and I'm just speculating,
Yeah.
but I think kind of where they probably had their fallout is probably at that time, because I remember that time the scene was very metal at the time,
Yeah.
and it was just I guess they just didn't have the opportunity to grow. But this is one of those bands that should have gotten signed and done, and they should have been playing a stadium by now. You know, they should have been doing something. The way I discovered them was I was actually listening to a Coheed and Cambria song, and there's one of their songs. I think I forget the name of the song. It came on right after that. I was like, man, who the fuck is this? And so I saw, and it said San Antonio, and then it said Recreating Eden. And man, I just like fell in love with them. I still have their EP downloaded on YouTube. It stayed
Cool.
there.
Nice. I'll go look for it later.
And it's crazy. Like I can't. I mean, the singer, I mean, he's amazing, fucking amazing. But yeah, like I just the way I ran into them now was uh, one of the bands called Para Mas, which is a cover band for Paramore. The guitarist is in that band, and when I found that out, I like fucking fangirled so hard. And then I was like, I told my friend Mondo, who knows them, I was like, dude, what do we got to do to get Recreating back together? Like, I have to be singing Devil in the Details, like on, like I got to be out there. Like I know all of their songs. I have to, because I feel like my friends like, man, you really love this band. Like you're really into it. You know, they're local. And I was like, you see the same energy I'm projecting right now. This is what I want people in this city to feel about these other local bands. Like I have so much love for that band, and I hoping that this will get them back in the studio, get them some new music, and whatever I can do to fucking help. You know, I'm gonna do it, because we just started a digital label, and that digital label is obviously they don't need us to, you know, get them to make music. They can put it on Spotify, but our goal is to create them a community and get them more shows and do all this really cool stuff that they normally don't know how to do with social media. Um, and you know, we're still building on that, but you know, I'm hoping that this will hope, if they come out and make an album, I'm gonna take all the credit. No. So, but no, I'm that passion I have for them, and I think they're very top tier. I think if they work really hard, they will be the next most well known band to come out of San Antonio. Like, so
Right.
I'm hoping the best for them.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely gonna have to check them out on
I'm
Saturday.
gonna check them out after
Yeah.
we get off of here.
Yeah,
It's a shame. It's a shame I don't live there. Otherwise, I'd have been there for sure. I was like, damn.
we'll fly you in, Matt.
I know, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, just you know, listen to them. I promise you, you're gonna be like blown away.
They're called what now?
Recreating Eden.
Recreating Eden. They only have like they still have their EP up, their full EP up right now. But their live sessions are really, really good too. Like really good. So I think there's only like 4 YouTube videos in total, and one of them being their EP. So
Okay.
yeah, you'll be impressed.
All right. I'll definitely check
Well,
that out.
Joe, I want to thank you so much for coming on today, because this was a really cool interview. I don't think we've ever really interviewed anyone that's like been putting on their own show. It's mostly just bands, and I think one wrestler. So
Oh,
yeah,
love wrestling.
so yeah, this has been really enlightening. I think it's a lot of people's dream. I think after, you know, playing at your favorite venue live, I think the next one is putting on your own festivals. So this is
Yeah.
really cool, like to hear this, and I think a lot of people are going to be interested to hear what it's like to put on a festival like this. And I think a lot of people are going to appreciate the work you're putting in for this city, trying to put it on the
Yeah.
map. So
yeah, I really hope people will be inspired to want to start their own festivals and stuff. So if they can see this old geezer do it, so can they.
Absolutely. Maybe even us. Maybe we'll do it someday.
Yeah.
You never know. You just
Demo
gotta reach out
Fest
to me and I'll help you.
2035.
Hey man, look,
2035.
Demo Fest, Demo Team Podcast, Demo Room. It's a whole
Hey.
thing, you know.
Oh yeah.
Demo.
You never know. I mean, you never know. Somebody could reach out to you and be like, "Hey, we have a really nice studio, and we'd love to bring your podcast over here and be on this particular station." You
Well,
never know, man.
that's true. So it could happen.
They most definitely can. Guarantee it.
Well, thank you very much, Joe.
No, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate
Of
it.
course. I mean, I just thought it was really cool because I honestly I'm almost kind of jealous. I'm very jealous that you're getting to put on your own festival and stuff. So, and all the other stuff you're working on too is really cool. And it's really cool because I had no idea, honestly. So genuine shock is you're telling me that you're creating a new platform.
Yeah, I used to have my own social media platform, but I sold that little piece to some Disney guys, and it, I would say don't be jealous. I hope that this will light some fire under your ass, to say, what can I do to also improve on that? And if you ever want to work together or do something, any one of you guys, reach out to me and let me know. And I'd be willing to help you guys in any way, shape, or form that I can. I'm always looking for new talent and people that are wanting to be creative and make things happen for themselves. And so remember, it's who you know.
That's
So,
true.
You know me now.
Yep. I'm definitely glad we do. Blaine, George, you have anything you want to say before we close it out, or?
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on. I mean, it's been a fun time.
Thank you for what you're doing for the scene, man.
You're very welcome.
From an old veterano, dude. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.